Well, good morning, everyone. My kissing cousins, that's what Dan used to call y'all. Oh boy, it is so great to be here again. I really, really appreciate your invitation. And hopefully I'll be able to get through this all right, because it's so nice to be here with people, live people, rather than having to do a talk on Zoom. It's just not the same. So I want to thank you for inviting me, and I also want to thank whoever does the weekly newsletter for the affirmations and the quotes that were included that are very, very appropriate for what I'm going to be talking about today. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So I hope this song here by Karen Taylor Good will inspire you to get on with your dreams, whatever they are, because time is ticking away. I think we could all agree on that. So not only will I be talking about freedom to dream, but learning to be more flexible, especially in these times of uncertainty. How to bend without breaking is another way of looking at it, which can very, very much be challenging, right? So, speaking of these times, do you remember when we still had Bob Hope and Johnny Cash and Steve Jobs on this earth plane with us? Yeah? Well, now we have no jobs, no cash, and no hope. Unless, of course, you're a unity person or religious scientist or another New Thought person. And what to me is interesting is I first read this joke shortly after Steve Jobs passed in 2011. And isn't it appropriate here, almost 10 years later? Wow. So later on we're going to hear from Reverend Michael Gott. We need to move in the direction of our dreams, which is one of my favorite songs of his. It's really hard to pick a favorite because he's got some awesome, awesome songs. But that one is very appropriate for what I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm going to start with this question. What is your dream? What is the thing that gives you passion? And when you're doing it, makes time seem to stand still. That's what we're talking about. So every dream begins with a thought in mind, right? And I'm sure you would agree that focused thought is far more powerful than unfocused thought. And one of the ways we do that is through meditation, being still, listening to that inner voice, which I say is the time when God speaks to us. And of course we have prayer, which is the time that I think that we speak to God by affirming what it is we want to create, this dream in our lives. And of course the two come together in affirmations, where we say, this is what I am doing now, not in the future. This is, we say it as if it was happening right now, not somewhere down the road. It's like, if you do that, it's like kicking the can down the road. No, you want to come from that place of positive affirmation for right here and right now. So we also must pay attention to our intentions if we want to manifest our dreams. And to me, it's usually the feeling rather than the thing itself that we're really after. For instance, you may say, oh, well, I want a little red sports car. Well, it's probably not the car itself. It's that sense of joy and freedom as you're driving down the open road that is the experience you're after, not necessarily the car. And there's nothing wrong with a red sports car. I wish I had one, but that's down the road. Yeah. Or maybe the idea of money or cash. Is it really the cash that you want, or that sense of financial freedom and stability that your bills can be paid? So is it the thing or the experience that you're after? I always like to say, put your attention on the feeling instead of the thing, and trust spirit to know just what to bring. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the 2004 movie, What the Bleep Do We Know? I'm sure probably most of you have seen that. Well, one of the talking heads in that movie was Joe Dispenza. You may be familiar with him. He's written, several books. And what you may not know is his backstory, if you will. In 1986, he was riding a bicycle in, I believe, a triathlon when he was hit by a truck and broke several vertebrae, in his back, and was told that he would probably never walk again. Well, he was not about to accept that prognosis. So he declined the intensive surgery that was recommended and decided instead to spend several hours a day focusing on creating an image in his mind of a healthy spine and walking again. Well, in 11 weeks, he was back at work as a chiropractor, which is what his profession was at the time, without even having to wear a back brace. So that experience or demonstration or manifestation inspired him to follow his dream of exploring the mind and body connection. And he's written several books about that since then. So if we want to change some aspect of our reality, in other words, follow a dream, we must think, feel, and act differently. You might say we must become someone else, create a new state of mind. Now, changing our minds, our thoughts, our feelings is simply breaking the habit of being yourself, which is the title of one of Joe Dispenza's books. So if we want a different outcome in life, we may need to invent a new self, but still stay in touch with who we really are, which is an expression of the divine. Now, science has proven that our brain cannot tell the difference between a memory or our imagination or reality, because it's the same circuits in our brain that fire during those three experiences. And I'm sure you've heard of athletes and other performers who use this visualization to look at, to visualize the outcome that they desire, whether it's, the golf putt into the hole or the basket or this wonderful piano concerto that is performed. So this idea of visualizing is very powerful in creating and following our dream. Now, in New Thought, we may look at that as the law of attraction. What we put out there through our visioning and our energy, our thoughts, is what comes back to us. Or some scientists, the more progressive ones, in my opinion, call it the quantum field. Well, whether you call it the quantum field or the law of attraction, it responds not to what we want, but to who we are. So that's why it's important to break the habit of being ourselves if we want to create a new reality. Sort of like a computer program that what goes in must be reproduced and come back out. I remember way back the what we would say is garbage in, garbage out. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. So by changing our thinking, our feeling, our beliefs, our actions, it's like rewriting the software program in our brain. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with Mahatma Gandhi, the peace activist, who preached nonviolence. Well, he believed in a reality that wasn't yet present in the lives or the minds of the people in India when he started his great dream, which was freedom from British rule. Yet he didn't let that, stand in his way or, bring him down. He believed in a future he could not yet see or even experience, but it was so alive in his mind that, he couldn't live any other way. And eventually, reality changed to match his conviction and his dream of freedom. And of course, the same thing can happen for each one of us. Now, maybe you've heard that there are two certainties in life: death and taxes. Well, I would say there's also a third certainty in life, which is change. And if you don't believe me, look at what's going on in our lives right now. Lots of changes that we get to adapt to, be flexible for. So we need to be flexible like the little saplings that bend in the wind, rather than this giant oak tree that breaks. And some of you may have had experiences of that, a month or so ago when the winds were so strong and breaking off the branches on our trees. Hopefully no one got injured. Oh, but that's what we're talking about. When I was in the School of Ministry in Denver at Mile High Church, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, the big Science of Mind and Spirit church in Denver, one of my teachers and mentors was Dr. Fred Vogt, who has since, passed on to the next expression. But he was so great, and every Sunday it was like he was talking right at you. So I was so glad to have him in as one of my teachers and mentors. He would always say, if we are not changing, we are not growing. And if we are not growing, we are dying. Ooh. All we need to do is look at plant life. It's the same thing. When it stops growing, it starts dying. So that's a great symbol for us, a reminder to us that we need to keep changing and growing and expressing who we really are. Now, this idea of bending without breaking, or flexibility, means that we're probably not always going to get our way. Reminds me of a story of an officer in the Navy who had always dreamed of commanding a battleship. He finally achieved this dream and was given commission of the newest and proudest ship in the fleet. Well, one stormy night, as the ship, plowed through the seas, the captain was on duty on the bridge when he noticed off to the side a strange light that was rapidly approaching, closing in. And so he immediately ordered the signalman to flash the message to this unidentified craft: alter your course 10 degrees south. Well, the reply came back quickly saying, alter your course 10 degrees north. Well, determined that his ship would not take a back seat to anyone, he snapped the order, alter your course 10 degrees south. I am a captain. Well, the response came back, alter your course 10 degrees north. I am Seaman Third Class Jones. Well, infuriated, he grabbed the signal and sent off the message himself saying, alter your course. I am a battleship. And the reply came back, alter your course. I am a lighthouse. Oops. Oops. Who do you think got their way there? Oh, whew. So he had to bend, or he would have broken, right? So by bending and not breaking, we become stronger, because we can see these difficulties, like our current situation, as challenges and opportunities to grow. Aldous Huxley, who has written several books, probably the most famous is Brave New World, says experience is not what happens to a man, it is what a man does with what happens to him. Or another way we can say that is we can't always control the conditions. I don't think anyone wanted this pandemic, but we can control our actions, our reactions to the conditions of our lives, how we take that information in and use it. You know, we're always at choice to make the best decision that we can with the information and the perception that we have at the time. Now, tomorrow we might have different information and might make a different decision. But as Viktor Frankl, who was the Holocaust survivor, has written books, says we have the freedom to choose our attitude in any given set of circumstances, and no one can take that freedom away. I know in Unity you have your monthly Daily Word magazine, and in Science Mind we also have a monthly magazine. And in June, there was an article in the magazine that referred to a story about how the British decided to build a golf course in Calcutta, India. So once this golf course was built and the people began to play, the monkeys in the surrounding jungles joined in on the fun. So they would pick up these golf balls after they'd been hit, and they would just toss them anywhere and everywhere. Well, you can imagine the golfers were not happy about that. So they brainstormed on how they could control the monkeys' behavior. So first they built fences around the golf course. But since monkeys are such excellent climbers, that didn't work. So next they tried distracting the monkeys with bananas and other fruit, but all that did was bring in more monkeys to have, enjoy the fun and have some dinner. So finally, they tried trapping the monkeys and relocating them back into the jungle, but that failed as well. So the British finally decided that for this golf course in Calcutta, the new rule would be that a golfer plays wherever the monkey drops the ball. In other words, if you can't beat them, you play along with them, right? Well, the lady who wrote this article went on to say, this story provides a perfect metaphor for what's going on today. This COVID-19 pandemic has changed millions of lives around the world. Lives have been lost, jobs have been lost or curtailed, finances have taken a hit, economies have been taken a hit. Our daily lives are just not the same as they were before. We feel this lack of control over our lives. But maybe we need to pause and say, this is where the monkeys have dropped the ball, so I will play from here as well as I can. Even if you're not a golfer, I'm sure you can identify with that idea. In other words, we need to let go of the need of control, instead focus on how best to play this game of life under our current circumstances. We have the freedom to follow our dreams if we are willing to be flexible and listen to that voice within of spirit, of the divine, whatever term you want to use. And maybe we can even learn to color outside the lines and allow ourselves to be open to new possibilities. We've got plenty of time as we're sitting at home to do that. Well, I'd like to leave with a story called The Magic Bank Account. And maybe you've heard this before. But imagine you'd won a prize in a contest. And this prize said that every morning your bank would deposit $86,400 into your own bank account for your use. However, this prize had a couple rules that had to go along with it. Okay, of course, everything that you didn't spend that day would be taken away from you. Now, you couldn't just take that money and transfer it into another account. You could only spend it. And each morning when you woke up, you would see that the bank had deposited another $86,400 into your account for that day. However, the bank could end the game without warning. At any time, it could say, "Game over." It closed the account and you would not get a new one. So what do you think you would do? You would probably try to go out and buy anything and everything you wanted, right? I mean, not only for yourself, but, to your family and friends, and maybe donating money to worthy causes and nonprofits, even buying stuff for people you didn't know, because you couldn't possibly spend that much money every day on yourself, right? You'd try to spend every penny and use it all because you knew it would be replenished the next morning, right? Well, actually, this game is real. Each of us is already a winner of this prize. We're just not aware of it. But the prize is not money, but time. Every morning we wake up to receive 86,400 seconds as a gift of life. And when we go to sleep at night, any remaining amount is not credited back to us. What we haven't used that day is lost forever. Yesterday is gone. So each morning, this account is refilled. However, the bank can dissolve that account at any time without warning. So what will you do with this 86,400 seconds that you receive every day? These seconds are actually worth more than the same amount in dollars. So think about it and remember to enjoy every second of your life, because time races by much quicker than we might think. So take care of yourself and each other. Be happy, love deeply, and enjoy life, regardless of where the monkey drops the ball. So I believe now we are ready for meditation. So I invite you to close your eyes, if that's comfortable. Allow yourself to go within, maybe by taking a couple of deep breaths. Listening to that divine voice of spirit. Allowing yourself to contemplate what we have heard here today. Taking this message of dreaming and bending and adapting to life.
knowing that we are always guided, guarded, and protected by the divine. We allow ourselves to keep changing, to keep growing, to keep dreaming. We affirm that all is in divine right order, regardless of appearances. I know this is my truth. I know this is your truth. And so it is. Amen.